Hello and welcome everyone. This is your astrology forecast for new moon in Scorpio. And this new moon is happening on the 20th of October at 28 degrees of Scorpio. So it's really close to that last degree. We can observe it as if it is the last degree of the sign, because it's very intense energy, and even though it's new moon, it's new energy, new beginning. It's also a lot about endings, because this is the last degree of the sign and it's happening in the sign of Scorpio. And Scorpio is about loss, death, rebirth, transformation, endings, and regenerations. So there is definitely something that needs to be completed, something where we get a closure, and something that releases us and that allows us to move forward. But of course, it's very challenging because we have to do it. This could be something that we are having hard time releasing, hard time letting go. And this can be a relationship, a life direction, a career, a job, a certain project, a home, a place of living, or a certain pattern, or something, our attachments, our fears as well. We definitely have problems releasing our fears, letting go of those fears, because many of us would feel lost and alone without those fears. Like, how are we going to function now in this world when we don't have these fears? Like, I am so used to these fears. I have learned to live in the comfort zone with these fears. They are my guide. And now I have to release them. And who am I without my fears? Who am I without my traumas? Who am I without my attachments? Who am I without my, painful experiences? And we are about to see, are we too ashamed or too proud of our scars, our wounds, our traumas? Because we can be ashamed of those things and keeping them hidden, keeping silent about them, keeping them as our secret, or we may be too proud about these things, talking a lot about these things, and seeing them as our trophies, our contributions. And this is the game between either playing the victim or playing again the victim on the other side. It doesn't matter, from which side, which extreme we choose. It's the same issue. Core issue is the same. It's our inability to handle these things and to find a healthy way to live with them. It's not about completely healing our wounds. We can never really heal them. It's about us living with them and using them constructively, because they are tools. They are really like special weapons that we have, and superpowers if we know how to use them. But if we allow them to consume us, then they become abusive towards us, or we become abusive towards ourselves and others. So this is a lot about really, really looking deep within ourselves, being very introspective. Scorpio is, being introspective, being doing detective work, doing deep research, digging things deep, getting to the bottom of something, unveiling the wheel, getting deeper into the mystery of life, looking at what is beneath the surface, what is under the rug, what is happening behind closed doors. And this is the area of sacred transformations, intimacy, sexuality, question of death and life, our fears of abandonment, betrayal, and loss. And all these things will be coming up to the surface very strongly. And this is, this when we have new moon, it's time when the sun and the moon come in sacred union. They are in a sacred marriage, and they give birth to something new. But there is also some kind of death happening, because we don't see the moon in the sky when it's new. It's very dark. It's like we don't know what's going to happen. We are planting seeds, but we have no idea, is it going to grow or not. And when the moon hides its face, the sky really looks empty. But this is where our psyches become transparent. And it's very important to see, to be courageous enough to look into our psyche and to look into our patterns, to look into our projections without pointing fingers, without blaming circumstances of life and other people, because this gets us nowhere. We have to really develop a perspective from which we have the ability to see that everything we experience, everything we witness, is truly showing us where we are with ourselves. And this is kind of light that doesn't really just fall on things like the full moon when it illuminates something. This kind of light moves through those things, and we are about to feel the light moving through us, and it can be uncomfortable, it can be painful even, because some wounds will be reopened, and some places that have been long in the dark will be will feel the light passing through them, and we want to hide, we want to keep it in the darkness, but we cannot prevent this light from passing through those things, through our inner darkness, through our inner chambers, through our inner corridors and labyrinths that we keep hidden and that are hidden from our conscious selves. So this new moon in Scorpio at the end of the sign is like a break, like a pause between our two breaths. And because we have this space where we are like between life and death, we are on the threshold between life and death, and it can feel really deeply intense. And this is the energy that will really show us who we are through our intimate relationships and through our close relationships, and also through our money, through our shared resources, through the money we share with our partner, with our family, with our friends, and how we handle these things, how we can share ourselves and our resources and our body, our soul. How do we share these things, and what are we afraid of? Are we sharing things out of fear, or are we sharing truly ourselves? And our behavior in relationships will be very, very strongly accentuated during this time. And there is this seed of awareness that is being planted now during this time, and under this invisible light of this new moon, life may feel a bit slowed down, but also strongly electrified and charged. And this is when secrets want to come to the surface. This is when we may be talking about things from the past and opening up about something that may be, not only uncomfortable, but that will face us with our dignity, that will put us in a place where we really have to put ourselves a little bit down, where we are not so proud of who we are, or where we are not opposite from being too proud of who we are. And we just have to recognize when we are in these opposite games. And this is moment when our toxic patterns will show their roots. And this is also a time when sudden emotional honesty can really come up and shake our existing relationships. And this is happening because there is an opposition with Uranus in Taurus, and Uranus is now retrograde, and it re-entered Taurus on the 7th of November. It came back from Gemini into Taurus, where it's been for the last 7 years. Uranus has been in Taurus for the last 7 years, and this new moon is going through an opposition with Uranus. So Uranus is retrograde. It's going backward, and it's really reminding us of something from the past. Mercury is also retrograde, and Mercury is right next to this new moon. So Mercury is also in opposition with Uranus. They are both retrograde, happening in the axis of Taurus and Scorpio, less degrees. So it's very intense, very intimate, very personal, and it's a lot about what we need to release, what we need to finally let go of, what needs to leave our complete field, our aura, what needs to go out from our visible field. And things may be coming back, people may be coming back into our life, and friends we didn't see in a while, people we parted with for who know what reasons, ex-lovers, situations from the past, thoughts and plans from the past, conversations that were supposed to happen before but didn't happen, now have an opportunity to happen. And these are deep thoughts and sudden and unexpected conversations and encounters. This can be a shocking information or shocking news and messages about something that happened in the past, or about someone we know from the past. And this can completely change our perspective, change our mind, and shake up our whole system. We may feel physical changes in our bodies thanks to some information that we hear, and it can really deeply disturb us. But it will also have a very liberating impact on us, because it gives us information about something that we definitely need to hear now, that is going to make our minds change. It's going to help us change our opinion about something. But it's not time for concluding anything, because we have so much of retrograde energy, and it's much better for us to go into that inner realm within us and be in a more contemplative, meditative state. Due to all these retrograde energies and Scorpio energy, last degrees new moon, this is definitely time for having some inner dialogues, for having an interview with ourselves, for asking ourselves questions. Like literally we can write questions for ourselves and have an interview with ourselves, and go through our past. We can go rewind the movie of our life and have an opportunity to see some things with new eyes, from new perspective, to see our past with new eyes, to see our past selves from new perspective, and to regenerate our past, to regenerate our relationship with the past, to regenerate ourselves, and to go through deep healing of hurt that we experienced up until now through our intimate relationships and our upbringing, and moments when we left ourselves alone. Actually, we were never actually betrayed by anyone but ourselves. We were never actually left alone by anybody else but ourselves. And when we can really understand this is when we start moving towards space of true freedom within ourselves. And this is a final review of something that has been very, very troublesome and problematic for us, and we can finally see it and see that it's gone. And this is either deepening our relationships, so something may be happening that is either helping us deepen and transform and rebirth our relationship on all levels. Like we are really building some new deep foundations. We are ready to face ourselves through others, to see that our relationships are serving our growth. It's not about being in a peaceful and perfect relationship where there are no challenges, or where there is like a constant how would I say it? I don't know, like a constant line. No, like relationships have to be wild a little bit if we want them to grow. But it's not about it's not about really experiencing drama or expressing our passion or any of those wild things, or pretending or saving a situation for the sake of keeping peace. It's really about how are we present in those moments when something is not right in our relationships with others. How are we going through those moments? Where are we in those moments? How we handle those situations? How we stand up in front of each other? How we move on from that situation. That's also very important. How we continue after that, that's what's crucial now also. And some relationships will break during this time. There is a lot of breakups happening because Scorpio demands raw honesty and raw truth and deep bonding, deep merging. No superficial connections, no small talks, no chit chats, no gossiping, no pretending, no no pleasing, none of that is gonna work. This is really being fully, authentically, unapologetically ourselves. And it's first about how we can handle it. Like, can I handle my own authentic self 100%? Can I handle myself fully? And then really showing ourselves fully in front of the other. And if the other is not capable of handling us or handling themselves next to us, then this may be a time for parting our ways, either in friendships or in partnerships, intimate or business-wise. You know, all our important connections are now really in the focus. And you know, this is also moment when we may connect with people on a very deep level, with new people, with new magnetic people who in some way hypnotize us. And these are connections that may feel like they are here for many lifetimes. Like, we are in these relationships, we have been together in many different lifetimes. And this can happen to us in our existing connections as well. We may suddenly feel those moments where we can truly say and feel like, whoa, this is really something unordinary. And this is what Scorpio relationships are. And during this time, we are about to really feel the strength of these connections. And of course, whenever we have Scorpio activated, and especially now with opposition with Uranus and conjunction with Mercury, this is a time when we are going to be faced with jealousy, possessiveness, obsessiveness, manipulations, power struggles, need for having control, losing control. All these things will be extremely heightened now, and there is a need to simplify. And there is really heightened sensuality that can open our heart through vulnerability. And this can be an invitation for us to see our own greediness, to see our own selfishness, to recognize our own possessiveness. And where does possessiveness come from? It comes from fear of rejection, fear of being abandoned, fear of being left alone, fear of being misunderstood. And all these fears are being reopened now. If they have been closed for some of us, they are about to be reopened. This is also a time when, you know, Pandora's box is opened, and all those fears and patterns that we try to keep hidden are just coming out. And we gotta be ready for this. Because it may feel like a big pressure on our chest, like we cannot breathe. And we are about to see where we are feeling like we are suffocating, where we are feeling like we are not living our life, like we are losing ourselves. And it's not so bad to lose ourselves from time to time, because of course it's just an illusion that we can lose ourselves. We can never truly lose ourselves. Life continuously reconnects us with ourselves through many different life situations. And you know, if we go into a relationship where we feel like we are losing ourselves, of course it's normal, because we are coming into union. And this is Scorpio. This is transformation through union. And there is a new substance that is being birthed through that loss of the self. It's actually loss of our ego. It's loss of everything we thought we are. And when we enter a relationship, we can lose ourselves, but it's only happening because we are again going to enter a path where we are going to reconnect with ourselves, and everything leads us somewhere. We we are never truly lost, and the question of death becomes very important too. The Scorpio energy teaches us about the mysteries of death and rebirth, and the mystery that really goes through all segments of our life. There is always that thought of death, or the opposite thought that we are never gonna die. So it's very important to be aware of death and loss, and to allow ourselves grief if it's happening, or if it happened in the past and we never processed it. Now is the time to really open to that space and allow ourselves to experience the pain and the grief and the whole process that we need to go through, and to allow our tears to come out, to fall. And as I always say, tears are really powerful alchemical process of turning our pain, our sadness, our anger, our unprocessed emotions into those healing liquids, those salty healing tears. And the 3 stages of Scorpio are really strong now, and we may go through all 3 stages in a very short period of time, or we may witness somebody's transformation and process of going through all 3 phases. And these are the Scorpion. The Scorpion is where we react from our instinctive body, from our, we are being very like in a survival mode, very protective, feeling threatened by everything and anyone, and then we sting with that poison of Scorpio. And this teaches us the power of boundaries and the truth that fear is truly a guardian of transformation. And in this stage of Scorpio, the first one, this is where we are really facing our fears. We are experiencing them. We are being reactive to our fears, and we are getting mad and we want to fight. And this is that first stage. Then comes the second stage. It's the eagle or the serpent, and the serpent is deeply connected to Scorpio, but maybe I'll talk a little bit about that later. But the eagle, he has a vision from above. This is when we have elevated from the scorpion who crawls on the earth and then rises up and have the possibility to see what Scorpion couldn't see. And this is the vision from above. This is awareness of what's going on, awareness of energy. And the eagle begins to see patterns, and it learns that control is not mastery, and that observation is very important. This is when we become more observant. This is where we dig deep, where we do the research, where we face our shadows and go through that shadow journey that is actually leading us to light. And then we reach the final stage, the phoenix. The phoenix is, the reminder that death comes as a renewal. Death is not the end, it's the renewal, it's the rebirth. And this is, when spirit is born from its own ashes. We have died for something, and we are getting regenerated from those same ashes, but we become something new. This is alchemy. This is turning lead into gold. And the phoenix rises exactly through those endings, through death. And the phoenix knows that nothing is ever truly lost. It only changes. It goes through different stages, and it becomes something else. Just like when we enter a relationship, we become something else. Or when we are experiencing death, when we are dealing with loss, we are not the same. We are experiencing other aspects of who we are. And this is the richness of life, to experience all that there is. regardless of, if it's good or bad. It's the experience that matters, and what we do with that experience, what that experience does to us, and how we use it. And this is also a reminder that, we cannot control what is not ours. And this is a moment to see that other people are not our possession. Other people are not in our possession, and we cannot control them, and we don't have the right to control them. And of course, others don't have right to control us. And it's very big thing now that is happening, because most of us live our relationships from that state of being where we want to control each other, because we have that fear of being abandoned or betrayed in some way. So this fear of losing control will be very strong, and we are reminded that, what we are being shown what is truly ours, what belongs to us, what can never be taken away from us. And we are asked to work on developing those things, to develop those qualities, and to gain something that can never be lost. And these are things that we carry within ourselves. These are our own qualities that we gain and give birth to through our transformations, through our experiences. And experiences are what we have the most, what we can say, this is mine. Like these experiences are mine. And this can also be a time when many of us will see that our memories are what creates our destiny, because the whole karma system is based on memories. If we didn't have memories, we wouldn't even experience karma. So there is a bit of a mystical influence for some of us who can now go into a really deep mode of transformation through consciously transforming our memories, so that we can transform our karma, because we can transform our past thanks to changing our memories. And we have the power to do this now, especially under the light of this, under the invisible light of this new moon in Scorpio, because it shows us the invisible light within us. It will show us where is that invisible light and what we can do with that invisible light. When we are in the darkness for a very long time, we start seeing things that have been hidden. We start seeing in the darkness. So it's important to be in that contemplative mode, into that introspective mode, because this is when we start seeing things much more clearly. And there is this Phoenix stage is just an introduction again to the next level, where we are also again going to go through the next 3 levels of Scorpio, again in some new situation. And this is a call from the Phoenix. And some of us may have dreams of snakes, dreams of symbols related to serpents, Ouroboros, dragons, because dragons and serpents are deeply related, and all related to Scorpio and the 8th house, and themes of death and rebirth and alchemy, and Phoenix as well. So let's pay attention to our symbols and colors and words that we experience in our dreams. Let's write down our dreams, because they may be telling us something, showing us where we are on our path. And this is a moment when we can gain calm, courage, like that really steadiness in the middle of the storm. And the mysticism of this energy is really making some of us very thirsty for deeper knowledge, for occult teachings, for understanding the deeper meaning of our life experiences, of why certain people experience certain things in life and some people never experience those kinds of things, why some people go through so much suffering, why some people are born, you know, somewhere where there is abundance immediately and they never experience such tragic moments. This is where karma comes in, and our patterns that we have inherited. These are prenatal, actually. And our first breath creates that imprint, the image of our life. And if we live unconsciously, we are going to live that image completely, and we are going to think that we are the ones who are creating that image, but that image is already created. But if we if we can really see that image, if we can recognize that we have patterns, we have certain path that we have to go through, and if we change our way of thinking, if we change our perspective, if we change our behavior that is, you know, repetitive, that is habitual, this is when we change the whole image, the whole imprint. And DNA, our DNA is deeply related to Scorpio and Serpent and spirals, you know, those double spirals, and the serpent's path and the dragon's path. It's like a DNA, and we have to slay the demon within us. We have to slay the dragon, to slay the serpent, and that's our lower nature. But this doesn't mean that we have to fight it. We grow thanks to these lower natures. Lower, I say lower because don't know what else to call them, but would be better if I had some other word for it now. But this is also a lot about our suppressed energy, our locked energy that is locked in our body. And we may feel our body as very intense around this new moon. It can feel very heavy, or it can be in a lot of pain, because this stuck energy wants to go out. It cannot move, and we have to move our body in order to make this energy move. So it's very powerful if we start moving our body in any way that we can think of, you know, taking a walk, doing meditative walks, swimming, dancing, working out, running, being outside playing, I don't know, whatever works for you. But let's move our bodies, and let's be aware that this energy wants to move, and we have to help it, because this stuck energy will definitely want to come out, and we may experience some chronic issues, chronic diseases, problems with our spine, perhaps with our neck, with our throat, with our digestive system as well, with our muscles, because Mars rules our muscles, and Mars is the original ruler of Scorpio. And if you ever wondered why is Scorpio passionate and fiery, like a fiery sign, but it's actually water, and why it's so intense and dark, it's because it has two rulers. One is Mars, and Mars is a fiery planet, ruler of Aries. So Scorpio has that strong martial warrior energy within it as well, besides Pluto and deep underworld. And this whenever I speak about Scorpio energies, I have to mention the story of the myth of Inanna and Ereshkigal, but it's very similar to that myth of Persephone and Demeter, and it's our descension into the underworld. And let's not forget that Venus is also in Scorpio, and Venus is related to Inanna, and Venus also has her phases that are very, very similar to this story as well. And when it's in Scorpio now, this energy is really, really powerful and intense, and we are going within ourselves through that same mythology. we are living this myth. And the descent of Inanna is a moment when we are going into our hidden world, when we are moving into that sector that we are hiding from ourselves and from others. We are facing the unknown. We are going into the realms that we don't know of. And this is when, the queen of the upper world, the queen of heaven, Inanna, looks down in the dark land of her sister, Ereshkigal. And Ereshkigal is the queen of the underworld, queen of this realm that we don't see. But in its essence, Inanna and Ereshkigal are one and the same. They are whole, but just different aspects of each other, different aspects of the wholeness. Like one day, whole day has a day and night. So Inanna is like the day, while Ereshkigal is the night. And if we want to be whole, we have to experience both, and we have to be transformed. And this new moon is also a reminder for us that whatever is dying within ourselves is also being rebirthed. Just like the sunset, when we are looking at the sunset, it looks like it's descending, it's dying, it's disappearing, but then again it comes up, then again it dies and rebirths itself, it dies and rebirths. And so do we. We die every day, actually, and when we go to sleep, it's some kind of death as well, and when we wake up, it's a rebirth of us. And this new moon really wants us to see that whatever is dying within ourselves, we should let it die. Let it go into the sunset, let it descend, because it will be transformed, it will be recovered, it will be regenerated. We will experience the fresh energy of it again. So let's not struggle with keeping it. Whatever needs to go, let it go. And Inanna in this myth feels called to descend, and she goes through 7 gates, and at each gate she is leaving something that she hasn't herself. She is leaving all her identifications, and we are symbolically now leaving our old identities. And she's leaving her crown at the first gate, which is her identity. Then at the next gate she's leaving her necklace, I think, which is her voice. Then she has I don't know, many things. There are 7 gates, and she's leaving something at each gate, and each gate represents some part, some aspect of us that we have to let go of. And at each gate she must remove one of those things until she stands naked before her shadow sister Ereshkigal. And we are now going through those gates, and we are asked to make a break at each gate, and to see the image that we show to the world that is being stripped of performance, and we may be naked in front of ourselves, and the stories we tell ourselves, the defenses that we use to defend ourselves, our mechanism of self-defensiveness, our need to control, we have to leave those things behind. We are letting go of the need to control, of the need for manipulation, of the stories we tell ourselves, of image that we are cultivating, of attachments to different outcomes, of our emotional resistances. We are asked to let go of all these things, and in the end, to surrender to not knowing when it comes to fear of death, which is actually fear of loss and fear of life, and fear of truly living our authentic selves, of truly taking full responsibility of who we are. And this Inanna's descent is actually our confrontation with the unconscious material within ourselves, and the Ereshkigal represents our shadow selves, the part that holds grief for everything that was denied and rejected. And the death moment that we experience now, because we are all going through some kind of death now. We are going to experience some kind of death and rebirth, all of us, in different shapes and forms. And this moment of death is the moment of stillness where our identity dissolves. And it's in alchemy, it's known as the stage of nigredo. We have nigredo, albedo, and rubedo. And these are 3 stages in alchemy. And you can do your research. I don't want to go now into those stories. It would take too much time. But this new moon is also related, just want to mention this, with tarot cards, of course, death, which is new beginning actually. Death just means that, something that we've been putting up with for a very long time, something that we've kept hidden, something we were silent about, is finally ready to be released. And it doesn't have any power over us anymore. And the other card is Tower. Tower is here very strong because this this new moon is making an opposition with Uranus. So something will tear down. Something will fall apart for the best. And, it's a collapse of something old. It's the collapse of something toxic, of something rotten that we are still holding on to. Like we are still holding on to something that it's not there anymore. And we are about to see that it's not there. We gotta get out of denial. We are coming out of the denial. And we may feel like we are faced with our greatest fears. And it's good to be there, to stay with them, to sit with them, to speak with them. Let's sit with our fears, with our deepest, darkest fears. And all of us will be faced with our big fears in one way or another. And this is the Mercury retrograde next to this lunation is really having a great role now, because it's sharpening our intellect and our mind, and it's helping us to understand some things that are hard to understand otherwise. And Mercury is now like the messenger between gods, between the worlds, between the underworld and the upper world, between Ereshki, Gal, and Dinana, and it's the alchemist. Like Mercury comes as the alchemist who distills chaos into understanding. And this is the result is that we are really close to our philosopher's stone. And the philosopher's stone is not some item, of course, it's a state of being. It's a state of being when we go through transformation, when we experience the transformation. And I would like to share with you I Ching, or the Book of Changes. These are 64 hexagrams that are having really powerful multi-layered meanings, and it's very demanding to study I Ching. But this energy of new moon in Scorpio really reminded me of the Book of Changes. And sorry. Book of Changes and hexagrams that each has many stories. And I suggest to all of you who are using I Ching to use it not as something that will satisfy the curiosity or that will give you some answers for questions like will I find a partner, or will I buy a house, or stuff like that. But these are really some deeper things that expand our mind and reconnect us with the cosmic intelligence. And here is I have one example of the book in my language. It's I Ching with Carl Jung's introduction, and it's very good. And for this new moon in Scorpio, I found this hexagram as the most appropriate one. Just let me find it. It's It's about shedding of old skin, and transformation. It's something revolutionary, and it looks like this. Just a moment, let me find it. Page 562. It's big. It's pretty big, but it's worthy of exploration. Really, really, really. Okay, here it is. The hexagram that is now, it's hexagram 49, and there is a lot of description around it, but what's most important about this hexagram is that revolutionary spirit that is awakened during this time. And it's the snake, the activation of Kundalini energy within us, the serpent that is coiled at the bottom of our spine. And the reminder that true change begins when inner truth outweighs fear of consequences. And this is a courage that rises through facing our fears. This doesn't mean that we are going to defeat and conquer our fears. They are there, and they are very purposeful, very useful. We need to have fears, but it's about our determination and courage and non-attachment to walk into those fears, to walk with those fears, to walk despite those fears, but not to ignore them, to be aware of them, to really carry their power within us, and to face everything that needs to be faced, without being afraid that something will be taken from us, or that we are going to get lost, or that we are going to lose something forever, because we cannot lose what is ours. Never, ever. So we are asked to work on things that will definitely keep us in that state of being where we can gain those qualities that can never be taken away from us. And this is something that could be dark for our eyes, but very bright for our soul. And a lot of things are coming together now, and we are being reminded that we first must burn, and then to turn that same flame that burned us into enlightening flame that we walk with. And not to work on removing our scars or to be ashamed of what burned us, but to keep that flame as our guidance and protection, because we transformed it into something permanent, into a permanent quality. And there is a story, but I don't know if I have time to share it. I can maybe mention it very shortly, about the lantern keeper. And this lantern keeper each night walked the dunes carrying a single lantern whose flame never seemed to die. And no matter how fierce the wind, his lantern kept the flame. And travelers who lost their way said they could see his light miles away. And one night, as the new moon rose, a young student came to the temple, and he followed the lantern keeper and his light through a storm of sand. And he was seeking answers to questions. And he asked this lantern keeper, why do I always lose everything I love? And this old man smiled and said, because you love what can be lost. And the student was a bit confused. The young man was confused, and he said, then what am I supposed to love? And the lantern keeper said, this flame was given to me when I first came here, and my teacher told me, guard, but do not protect it. And the student said, but what's the difference between that? Isn't that the same thing? And the keeper said, to protect it, I would hide it from the wind. But to guard it, I must walk with it through the wind. And, he walks despite the wind, because he guards it. If he wanted to protect it, he would try to keep it, and the flame would be gone. And of course, there is more to this story, but I hope you get the point. You know, it's about guarding something, not protecting it. It's about learning to love things that are really valuable of loving, and to learn to start loving those qualities within ourselves that we gain through our experiences. And this is really a reminder that we can never lose anything we truly love. And you know, we can just suffocate it by trying to protect it. So let's guard and not protect. And you know, let it breathe, let it change, and let it burn what it must. And with this, I would end this forecast, and I wish us all a very, very healing, transformative, alchemical, and confrontational new moon in Scorpio. Love you all, and see you in 2 weeks. Bye bye.